Hello and welcome to the very last video I'm going to be releasing on this channel in 2023. Thank you guys so much for being here this year. It's been a good year in terms of growth and everything else on the channel, and I would like to, in this video, discuss the future New Year's resolutions for 2024 that I would like to set myself in each one of my languages that I'm studying. I'm not including French because I'm still going to be on a break for French for at least 6 months while I'm bettering my Spanish, but my other languages, I have some goals that I've just set myself, and I hope that I stick to them. They're going to be a little less ambitious than last year's. If you haven't seen yesterday's video, feel free to go check that out. Yeah, let's just get into it. With Spanish, first of all, I want to be able to read at least 4 times a week. No specific amount that I'm reading per session. Could be 1 page, 1 chapter. I want to be able to read more in Spanish because my Spanish is at a level, especially in reading, where I can understand quite a lot when reading, and so I think it's very beneficial for me just to continue doing that. And sometimes I'm very lazy and I don't want to read, and it's very beneficial for me just to kind of sometimes force myself to do it. I just want to be able to read, and I've just decided 4 times a week is a decent amount. It gives me a bit of a break for the rest of the week, and yeah, that's essentially it for reading in Spanish. It's a bit vague, but I just wanted to be able to achieve reading 4 times a week, and that will be mostly in physical form. It won't be as much on digital, like on Link, for example. Kind of along those same lines as well is finding a new book to read in Spanish. Currently, I have read this book, which is a certain book about World War II and the camps and stuff, which personally I find really interesting. Bit of a morbid topic, so I'm not going to go on it too long, but essentially it's about 150 pages long. I've read through it at least 5 or 6 times. I plan on reading through it a lot more next year, just to really use that study material. I also have a more light-hearted book, which is to do with health and good lifestyle and whatever, which I've read maybe about half of it or so. I haven't been bothered for a while to pick it up and actually read a lot of it, but that's another book. And I also have this book, which is more of a, I think, some kind of non-fiction book or something different anyway, and I've read again, give or take, not even quite half of that book, but I need to finish reading those books. But they're the 3 main books that I have in Spanish. I do have other books as well, but I haven't picked those up in a while. These are the 3 main ones that I like to read because they're the most comprehensible for me that I currently own. However, I would like to find a brand new book somehow, whether it's on the internet or whatever, by any other means, that I can pick up, open, read through, and just comprehend the majority of what I'm reading. Very much the first book that I showed you, which is called Sobreviver al Ángel de la Muerte. I can understand basically 90% of that book, and it's really fun for me to read it because I can comprehend so much of that book. But like I say, it's a bit of a depressing topic, and so I don't really always fancy reading that particular topic. So I would like to find a new book of a similar size, maybe 150 to 200 pages, which is just as comprehensible for me, or at least after a couple of reads becomes a bit more comprehensible for me. The challenge is trying to find that particular book. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, but it's my kind of challenge for this year to search and find a book, even if I have to fly to Spain to look in a library, for example. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. If not, I will stick to these books anyway, and the few others that I have in Spanish, but these are the main ones that I have in terms of reading material in physical form. And if all else fails, I do also have a link and other means of reading online anyway. So I have a lot of reading material, but I would like to buy a new book in Spanish, which is very comprehensible for me, which will be a good source of learning material for me in my Spanish in the coming year. I want to continue speaking at least once a week in Spanish with my language exchange tutor or partner, I guess, because it's not a tutor, I don't pay her. But yeah, we speak in Spanish and English 1 hour each every Saturday or Sunday, and that's been going really well, and it's been helping me improve my spoken Spanish, considering that I don't really get an opportunity to really speak Spanish otherwise. I want to definitely continue that, and at least once a week just be able to speak in Spanish, and hopefully my Spanish will just continue to improve over time with the spoken aspect, and also with listening as well. I struggle a lot with listening, so it'd be nice to be able to improve on my listening skills as well while I'm at it. So that's quite a basic one, really, just speaking once a week, and ideally I would love to speak once a day, or just multiple times a week, but it's very hard to find people to do it with. I may make use of ChatGPT on those other days where I can't find other people to speak with, just to be able to speak some kind of Spanish, even if it is with an AI system. At least it's better than not speaking at all. And yeah, just in general, just to speak more and be able to express myself more in Spanish, because I'm getting to a point where I really need to try and improve upon all bases in Spanish, including my speaking and listening, which are 100% my weak points in the language. And the last one for Spanish is that my goal for this year in Spanish is to make at least 5 videos on YouTube in Spanish. I did one only a few weeks ago, and I think that went okay. It was annoying because when I was editing, I made mistakes which I knew were mistakes, pronunciation mistakes, grammar mistakes, whatever. There wasn't loads like my very first one I ever did, luckily, so I can see an improvement, but yeah, there was still some, and it was really annoying because it was like I pronounced a certain word wrong that I know this word really well. It's just I don't really pronounce the vowels correctly how they should be, and so it ends up sounding more like an I than an E or whatever. I decided, screw it, I will just leave all the mistakes in the video because it shows what my level is truly at a certain point, and then hopefully in the future it'll be an improvement that then I can kind of compare the two videos. I obviously want to improve my Spanish, and I think making videos in Spanish is going to help me do that. One, because I'm just speaking to a camera, and a lot of them are going to be just improvised and just like however I want to speak and what I want to speak about, as opposed to scripted videos, because that will be obviously a lot more like fake in regards to like, oh, here's what my Spanish is like, and then I script and just read off a script. Not something I want to do. Something that I feel like other people do, but it's not something I want to do. I want to be like genuine when it comes to my languages, and yeah, like I want to make at least 5 videos in Spanish. It'll help me for speaking. It'll then help me for listening, watching it back, editing the video. You know, for example, one that I really annoyingly picked up on, and I realized I was like, oh, I said mantener instead of mantener in Spanish when in my most recent video, and that really bugged me because I know the verb so well, mantener, but when I was speaking, I just said mantener, and it's just like a little difference. Mantener is not a word in Spanish, probably understandable for mantener, but it's still not said right, and it's just that difference between just pronouncing your vowels right and not, and it's an obvious mistake. Hopefully it wasn't too jarring. There were other like words and things I had wrong, and obviously these are all things that I pick up on, especially when I upload the video and then there's people commenting saying, I think you use this word, but actually you should use this word instead. I think it's a better word to use. That's perfect. I didn't realize myself, and so I get feedback as well, luckily through the comment system on YouTube. So all round it's actually very helpful for me to make videos in my languages. It's kind of hard to do, so the editing takes a while because of the subtitling, so it is a bit of a pain. And there's also this aspect of like people are going to watch the video and scrutinize all these your mistakes and then say that you're terrible at this language, and not to say that anyone has, but like, people easily will. I mean, even if it's just trolling on YouTube or whatever, like people just do it, and sometimes that can like kind of ruin your motivation or like I guess your ego in a language or whatever. You need your motivation, and so you need people to kind of say you're doing well or whatever, even though you're making mistakes. But obviously you're kind of putting yourself out there for criticism and review when you put a video out with like mistakes. But ultimately I don't really care about that. What I want to do is just release like my level in a particular language at a level which is true to myself and what I can actually speak that language at, because I don't want to give false impressions that my ability in a particular language is better than it actually is, because otherwise, if I'm live streaming, someone expects me to speak a language fluently and I can't, it's kind of exposed, right? So yeah, anyway, a little bit of a tangent, but I would like to make at least 5 videos in Spanish across the year, because I feel like it'll be useful, it'll be cool for me to see how I progress gradually over the year with my Spanish, and it's just a nice little goal. It's only 5 videos across an entire year. I am planning on uploading at least once every Saturday this year, or in 2024. They are my goals for Spanish, and so we move on into the next language, which is Polish. I really enjoy Polish, and so I've got actually probably a few more goals in here than the other languages, but Polish is a language that just like, I don't know, it's just really fun, really difficult, all the rest of it. So I'm going to go through these one by one, and yeah, so I'm going to first of all talk about make at least 3 YouTube videos in Polish across the year. I haven't made a single video in Polish as of yet, and that kind of is because I feel like my ability to speak Polish isn't so good. I've spoken little bits of Polish in some of my videos, but not an entire video worth, and I will get around to doing one soon, hopefully, but it's not going to be great. But again, I'm hoping that my first video will be at a certain level, and the videos I record after that video will just progressively improve on my knowledge of vocabulary, on grammar, and everything else. And it's a little bit more nerve-wracking in Polish, because I know there's a lot of people who are Polish who watch my videos, and so obviously if I speak Polish and I make like a lot of mistakes or whatever, maybe it can be a little bit difficult to like upload that video, especially if I am editing and then I realize mistakes and I just kind of leave those in like I did with my Spanish one. Ultimately I shouldn't care, but again, you know, there's always going to be that little thing in me. But I kind of need to overcome that anyway, and yeah, not be so shy when it comes to speaking other languages. It's harder for me to express myself in Polish as much as I can in Spanish, because my vocabulary isn't quite as broad with the language, and also my use of grammar is very limited. And yeah, it would just make it probably a hard video for native Polish speakers to watch, maybe. I'm not sure. I'll release it and I'll see how it goes anyway. But my goal is to release at least 3 videos in Polish next year on YouTube. I'm not quite sure what about or anything. It'll just be me speaking about my journey, I guess, in Polish. But yeah, that is my first New Year's resolution when it comes to Polish. The next one is to gain a better understanding of grammar and cases. Only yesterday, and maybe I should show this in a second, but another one is to write more as well, so that's 2 in 1, just because I want to show this now. Yesterday, as well as across like the last few years that I've been studying Polish, I do occasionally write, and the reason I'm showing this now is not only because of the write more, but also because if you can read it, I don't know if you can, we've got grammar study, and this particular one is grammar study of like masculine, feminine, like the genders of the nouns in the mianownik case. So this is just me basically just like writing down and having fun with the language and giving myself little tests and stuff. Means nothing in regards to actually learning stuff, really. It's just me having fun. And if I learn things while doing that, it's a bonus as well. It's just a way for me to see how words change with different endings. Okay, so this is masculine, so maybe it's taking this ending, and it's very grammar heavy, but obviously I enjoy that. And I just had this like burst of energy last night. I just all of a sudden really feel like doing a lot of writing in Polish, and you know, doing this. And this isn't the only time I've done writing in Polish. I mean, I haven't done a lot, and that's why I still want to write more, because over the last 3 years I've done that much, which is I would say about 15 pages maximum, of just like writing in Polish. Some pages are more than others. This is another page full of like grammar notes and stuff, and that particularly is on, you know, here's another one. These are all on like cases and things like that, and it's not even for me to look back on or anything. It's just me purely to have fun. Let's just conjugate some verbs, whatever. I just have fun. I should probably do more like this, where I highlight certain words that I want to learn, and yeah, like highlight them, highlight the English equivalent so I know what they mean. It's a fun thing for me to do. So I would like to write more in my Polish, but also, what was the original one? Get a better understanding of grammar and cases. I feel like without having a good understanding of grammar and cases, it's hard to actually be able to speak the language. Like, it's hard just to be able to say a word and then also be able to match it up with its matching adjective or noun or whatever. And if you don't know, like, if it's masculine, feminine, neuter, and then you don't know what case it's in, it is so difficult. And you essentially right now, like, I guess a lot of the endings or words, and it becomes like a mess. And I'm sure for like native Polish speakers, it's, you know, it's quite difficult to understand when somebody's constantly messing up the endings to different words. And I just want to have a better understanding to not mess it up as much, and just to try and be a bit more like competent with my ability to speak Polish, with at least like the gender side of it, the grammatical gender. Like the cases, they're difficult, but I just wanted to kind of put that on there just to improve my understanding on gender, on, you know, cases as a whole. The gender one isn't as difficult for me because obviously I understand that from Spanish. Obviously Spanish has masculine, feminine, Polish has masculine, feminine, neuter. It's more just like identifying which words are actually which. and obviously in which cases. And so the cases definitely throw in a huge ball of confusion. And I think over time I'm slowly getting to understand them. So that's why I just wanted to continue understanding and improving my understanding of that side of Polish grammar. I want to expand on topics in Polish. So very quickly, because this was one that I had last year as well. I just want to be able to speak more about different things. If I want to talk about me going to the gym, I want to be able to talk about lifting dumbbells or barbells or doing weights in general, being able to run on a treadmill or whatever it may be. Specific vocabulary for specific topics is, something that you only pick up in that said topic. You don't really talk about dumbbells unless you're talking about the gym, for example, or at least talking about lifting weights. And so I want to just be able to discover new words and new topics and new vocabulary that I can then learn and hopefully expand my ability to speak in different topics. It's quite a simple concept really. It's just I need to actually figure out which topics I would like to prioritize over others, essentially. So my goal is just to expand on different topics, and to tie in with the making at least 3 videos on YouTube this year, I may dedicate a particular video to a particular topic. For example, I may have a video talking about me going to the gym and lifting weights. That's not something that I've planned, it's just an example. And then obviously if I'm talking about that in Polish, it may help me to improve my vocabulary on that particular topic in Polish. Kind of not language learning related when it comes to Polish, but kind of is as well, is I really would like to visit Poland this year. It's more of a travel resolution, I guess. But regardless, obviously, being able to use Polish in Poland would, incorporate into that anyway. And also, if I visited Poland, I'll be able to buy books in Polish. And so there's a lot of good things that can come out of being able to visit Poland during this year. I don't know if it's achievable because I have other holidays already booked and lined up, and they're kind of gonna take up my money and time and stuff. And I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it to Poland this year as well. If I do, I'd be very happy. I haven't visited Poland since I've started studying the language. The last time I went to Poland was about 3 months before I decided to study Polish, and that was such an amazing trip. Even though it was before I studied Polish, I just enjoyed it so much. And so I certainly want to go back to the country to experience wherever it is that I visit. There's so many places I want to visit as well, literally across the whole country. But wherever it is that I end up visiting, hopefully or in 2024, I want to just be able to visit through the lens of someone who now knows and understands a decent amount of the language especially compared to when I visited before, because I didn't know really anything when I visited in September 2020. Now I've got a decent foothold. I should be able to at least get by with basic Polish sentences or speech or whatever. It's just something I really want to do. I actually wanted to do it this year, but couldn't. I had other holidays that took up my time and my money. It's just the way things are. And Poland isn't even that expensive. It's just still, it's money, I guess, and time, whatever. But it's certainly really high up on my list of places I want to go to, is just to visit Poland. And again, as a language learner or somebody who's learning their language, it's a really big dream of mine to go back and just to experience the country again after more than 3 years of just wanting to go back, essentially. So yeah, I would like to visit Poland next year. And the last New Year's resolution I have for Polish in 2023 is something that I haven't actually spoke about yet, and it's something that I won't speak about again until I guess I've finished it. If you may have noticed in a few videos, I have had this back in the background, which is, if you don't know, the books in Polish, or the Harry Potter books in Polish, I should say. And I'll just move these out the way to reveal hopefully a bit more. And you can see, so this is Harry Potter series in Polish. Currently this is the one I'm going through, and my aim was to read through all of the Harry Potter books in Polish while listening to the audiobooks, recording myself doing it, and then uploading a video onto YouTube at some point next year when I finish them all, which is going to be a long time because I'm only through the second one at the moment, and that's already taken me a while to get there. And my aim was just to challenge myself to see if I could actually do this, to immerse myself into the language and to read over 1 million words in Polish, essentially, and see if it in any way helps me better my knowledge or understanding of the language, bearing in mind that probably 85% of this is incomprehensible to me. And although people will say incomprehensible input is not that useful, I just wanted to give myself a challenge and to the extreme, and just to see whether this gives me any benefits, or whether I feel like I benefited from sitting down for over 100 hours and reading through the entire 7-book series of Harry Potter, which I think I calculated was over 6,000 pages. It's 1,100,086 words in total in all of these books, and so yeah, it's a big undertaking. Very, very big. Obviously, I am listening to the audiobook while I read as well. It's the best way to do it, in my opinion. And essentially, as we progress through next year, whichever book is up on here, and if you can see where the bit of paper is for the bookmark, that's where I'm currently at in the series. I'm only on book number 2 at the moment, so I'm very early in this challenge. But yeah, I don't really want to mention it again because it is kind of meant to be like almost an Easter egg, that this is just in the background, like there in your faces, where at the same time maybe I haven't explicitly said it. But I figured if you're watching this particular video right now, you deserve to know, because you're probably maybe interested, I don't know. But regardless, it is something, it is a goal that I want to meet next year, or a resolution I want to do, is to complete this series at some point next year. And I've no idea how the video is going to turn out. It may be a bit of a bad video, or it may be a good video. No idea, but it's a good challenge for me regardless. I think it'll be a big sense of accomplishment to finish entire book series like this in a language that I'm learning. And also, like I say, it's just for me to basically see whether there is any benefit, or whether I feel like there's any benefit to reading an intense amount of incomprehensible input, or whether it's better to stick to comprehensible input and shorter books. So that's kind of something that I just wanted to do, and it's an experiment kind of. But at the same time, I want to be able to finish the series so that I can just feel good about myself that I finished that series. And with that, we are now moving on to Japanese, where I have less goals this year, because to be honest, I've been struggling with Japanese a lot over the last couple of years, like studying it, and I haven't really given it the proper time and attention it should have because of my other languages. With Japanese, I've got a couple of vague resolutions to meet. The first one is to speak more and study kanji less. I think studying kanji was something I wanted to do because I wanted to be able to read more in Japanese so that I could pick up on more vocabulary. Unfortunately, it's just too big of an undertaking for me, and I feel like I would benefit more from speaking and therefore being able to actually just say something. And yeah, currently I can say like 3 or 4 sentences in Japanese, not really that much. And so I just want to be able to speak more in Japanese and express myself more in spoken Japanese. And kanji study isn't really going to help me do that. It will help me just to identify kanji. So yeah, essentially I just want to be able to speak more. So I'm going to focus on speaking more in Japanese and less so on actually studying kanji. Although saying that, there will be times where I will be doing, I guess, kanji study, if you want to say that, but more so writing down in Japanese. I enjoy writing in Japanese. It is a fun task for me to do. I have multiple pages. I've probably written in Japanese more than I've written in Polish or Spanish, but again, I haven't written all that much in my languages because it does take a lot of time to write in a foreign language. And again, we've got like pages of Japanese here, if you can see that. Yeah, it takes a long time to write in a foreign language, and sometimes I just don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't have the time, whatever it may be. That's it. There's literally 5 pages worth of me writing in Japanese, but like I say, I find it fun, and I would like to write more in Japanese, and that's kind of just a vague goal that I've given myself for next year, is just to write more. I want to be able to write, I don't know, like at least 10 pages in this book that I've got, this notebook, in Japanese by next year or something like that. I don't know. There's no specific goal. It's just get down and actually do some writing essentially. And the main goal that I've got for Japanese is by the end of 2024, I want to be able to give myself a proper introduction. It's already been 2 years. I have been on and off with my Japanese. I haven't been consistent with it. Maybe by now a lot of people would already be able to say certain things, but I've just not really given it that time or attention. And realistically, I should be able to introduce myself, and I can, but it's a very bad introduction. Like I said, I can say like a few things, but not really that much. I find it hard to learn vocabulary in Japanese, and I think it's because, it's a different script, and so it's just harder to learn, right? So by the end of 2024, I just want to be able to give myself some kind of a 2, 3, 4 minute introduction, something like that, to be able to, actually introduce myself at the very bare minimum in Japanese. And I think that's achievable. Should be quite easy. I know realistically speaking, for like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes or whatever I decide, it's quite a long time, but I want to be able just to introduce myself, talk about, the reasons why I picked learning Japanese, why I enjoy Japanese culture, why I enjoy language learning in general, that kind of basic introduction. I want to see how I go with that. I think it will be a fun little video to do if I could make a video in Japanese for 3 minutes and just say, this is why I'm learning Japanese. I've been struggling with it, but I'm slowly getting there. That'd be a huge improvement on what I currently can do. And yeah, I think next year I would like to focus more on Japanese as a whole. I think I've been neglecting the language, saying I've been learning it for a couple of years, but actually not really. It's time for me to improve my Japanese, I think. I've just got one other in the other category, and then that's everything for this video, which is to learn a new script. Not a new language, but literally to learn how to read in a new script. It could be Cyrillic script, Hangul script, Greek script, Tamazic, Georgian, Arabic. I haven't decided. And I kind of think it will be the Cyrillic script, being able to read in Russian and Ukrainian, for example, just because recently I've been realizing that actually I recognize more of this script than I understand I did, because I've been doing some reading on Link in these two languages. And yeah, I've just recognized certain characters make certain sounds when reading words in general, and I've kind of just started picking up how the script sounds and how it reads and stuff. And I feel like with enough practice I could probably learn to read Cyrillic fairly well. So yeah, it's just like a little side goal for next year. I just want to be able to read in another script, probably Cyrillic, but I'm not going to limit myself to Cyrillic. I may decide just to randomly try and learn how to identify Georgian script, for example. Just some random script that I'm just interested in at that time next year, or whenever it is I decide to properly look into that. I just want to be able to look at another script and be able to give it a good go when it comes to pronunciation. It's not me necessarily learning the language of that script. So if I'm learning Hangul, I'm not saying I'm learning Korean right now, because that would be a lot on top of my other languages, but at least I'll be able to look at words and give it a really good attempt when it comes to pronunciation. I will know what characters make what words, or what characters make what sound even. And yeah, I think it would be just a fun little thing on top of everything else that I'm doing. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. And that's going to be everything for my 2024's New Year's resolutions, language learning goals. I didn't include French this year because I think I'm not really going to be studying French. There's no point me adding in goals for something I'm not going to actively study. But we'll see how my Spanish goes, and once my Spanish is improving, maybe I'll introduce French back in there as well. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know these kind of videos do well, and I think that's because people like to look at other people's goals and ambitions for the new year. So if you're new to this channel, I appreciate if you subscribe. I do content on language learning, so if that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'm just a language learner. I don't profess to be a polyglot or anything like that. Just so to be clear, I just love studying languages. And yeah, with all that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for being around this year in 2023. I've had some great growth in terms of subscribers and in terms of numbers of viewers and everything, and I really hope that 2024 continues with that trend and with the growth and everything on this channel. I'm looking forward to seeing how next year goes, especially with my hopefully consistent upload schedule. At least I've got videos planned all throughout the year next year anyway, so I've got video ideas. I just need to sit down and actually record them. Also shorts, hopefully I'll be consistent with shorts as well, but we'll see how it goes. I'm really hoping for big things next year, all being well, in 2024. So all out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great New Year's, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, enjoy yourselves. Szczęśliwego nowego roku, feliz año nuevo, bon an, and however you say it in Japanese. Sorry, I forget. Thank you guys. Have a great new year, and peace out.